Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm Dane.
And I'm Marcus, and this is The Cop and the Con. The purpose of this podcast is to help bridge the gap between cops and convicts.
We discuss national news, current events, and everything in between.
So, tune in, and thank you.
Let's get started.
Thanks for tuning in this week. I got a couple of things that I want to talk to my boy about real quick, so let's get into
Couple
this.
things on your mind.
Yeah, so, over the last year, there have been a couple of things that's been going on, in our community, right? There's been a lot of profiling, a lot of
That's
death.
everywhere.
A lot of death. But, in our community, right?
Sure.
So I'm not just saying that it's, colored people or Polynesians or black folks or even white folks, like lower class citizens. But we did have an incident beginning of last year, and this is actually the 1 year anniversary of when it happened. Close friend of both of ours, good friend of mine, known him since elementary, was gunned down in the during an arrest. All right. So my question is, when those things happen, those things transpire, because it does happen more often now than not, right? What is textbook? How are you supposed to respond? Like when you're apprehending a criminal, a known fugitive, or a known gang member, are you supposed to just automatically assume that they are strapped up and ready to die?
That's a loaded question. But let's break it down a little bit. So you first touch base on profiling.
Yeah.
So profiling, I feel like it gets a really it's set in a negative light. When people hear, this cop was profiling, there's a lot of reasons behind why there's a legitimate stop for individuals.
Okay.
Give
me an example.
Let's say I'll give you an example of mine.
Okay.
Personally.
Yeah.
Okay. It was when I was working up in Salt Lake, AP&P, and it's when they were doing they were making a big push for the homeless initiative, where there was the Operation Rio Grande a few years back.
The clean sweep.
Yeah, to help clean up the streets and get homeless people into substance treatment centers and to different facilities, stuff like that. So we had the opportunity to work overtime and be a part of that. One night, at the time, my partner and I, we were patrolling. I can't remember. I think it was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. But we got incident commander gave us a call, and he said, "Hey, there was just a robbery that was committed. It was a black guy. They actually had his name. The individual who was robbed knew who it was, so they gave the name
African American,
black."
Yeah. I'm just playing.
No, you're good. But so we had the name. We had a photo of who it was.
Yeah.
And then the description from the victim was he was wearing a red hat and a pink backpack.
Okay.
And so we're like, that's pretty
descriptive.
Yeah. There's not a lot of dudes walking around here with a red hat and a pink backpack.
Now let me before you continue now. That so us as criminals, like me, right? Who I used to run with, like that type of stuff. When we don't know the ins and outs. So before you even go look for somebody, you're already getting hit on all of that descriptive information. Correct?
As it depends. As much description of the situation and anyone involved as we possibly can get.
So it's not just, hey, pull that dude over. He looks like.
Sometimes it's a vehicle. Sometimes it's a vehicle with a number of individuals inside.
Yeah. And
sometimes the number of individuals inside are described as, Hispanic or Polynesian or black or white, whatever descriptor. So if you can look at it from law enforcement point of view, we're looking for a gray Honda Civic with 4 white guys in it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That could be a number of cars
True.
in the area,
True.
in the, within the vicinity.
Yeah.
And so when we stop those cars, because it matches the description, and we hope to get more description of the individuals inside potentially, or even the vehicle. There's a dent in the bumper, or there's something hanging from the window,
or even a number from the
even partial plate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if we don't, if all we get is there's a gray Honda Civic with 4 white guys inside, we're like, okay, this is what we're looking for. There might be 1, 2, 3, or 4 different cars, or 30, depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, oh, you just stopped me, you're profiling. Well, kind of, but you were in the vicinity. You're the first gray Honda Civic I saw with 4 white guys in it. Of course, I'm going to try and stop you. There was just a robbery committed.
Okay.
Anyways, going back to our situation. So this robbery was conducted at gunpoint. Okay. So dude had a gun. He just used it to commit a felony, to rob somebody at gunpoint. And now he's on foot walking away from the homeless shelter area, the Rio Grande area.
Yeah.
So it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's not a lot of people on the street.
Not with a pink backpack.
Okay. So we spotted a black guy with a red hat and a pink backpack. And we're like, okay, this is our guy right here. You know what I mean? There's not even anyone else on the street. So we're in an undercover car. We pull a little ways back behind the street because we still need probable cause to conduct a stop. We can't just roll up and be like, hey, you look like the guy. We can't do that.
Yeah.
So he's just walking down the sidewalk, and we're just kind of following
At a distance.
40, 50 feet behind him, lights off. We're kind of on the side, opposite side of the street.
And at this time, you're informing other officers, hey, with this
Yes.
possible suspect in vicinity of this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have, other cars set up down the road for if we need, help and stuff like that. So we're just like, we need him to commit some type of, violation of law.
Yeah, something. Yeah, spitting on the sidewalk, jaywalking, something.
So he's walking, and there's a car that kind of pulls up, and he kind of, talks to the car, and we're like, okay, if we see exchange of goods or anything or weapon or whatever, like, let's go conduct a stop.
Yeah.
Even though that was kind of grasping at hairs there.
Yeah.
Anyways, he looks in the car, doesn't even come close, and then just keeps going, and the car leaves. We're like, damn.
He probably knew you were following him. Somebody who just did, okay.
Nah, bro, we're slick.
I know, but
Slick.
it sounds good, but speaking on, that side of it, like, when you just commit
and maybe someone with yours particular set of skills,
you know what I'm saying,
would know. You know what I'm saying?
Very.
But with someone
with
with my particular set of skills, trust me, he did not know we were there, because there was a car that passed us and pulled over right in front of us.
Yeah.
He's still on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
Okay. They holler out to him, and he walks over to the car, and we're like, okay, here we go. We're a lot closer.
Yeah.
I had my binos out, my binoculars, so I could see if there's any little baggies or any weapons or anything exchanged, and then we can go hit him up. Nothing. Again, he has his hands on his backpack right here. He doesn't even come within 3 feet of the window. And then he walks around the car and then starts walking down our side of the road. And I was like, damn.
Thought that was the one.
And then I was like, shoot, that car drives off. So we're following for a second, and I was like, jaywalking. That fool just jaywalked. I was like, he just jaywalked. I was like, let's go.
So that's probable cause, right?
Yeah, it's illegal to illegal to cross a street.
Petty.
When it is.
But it's enough
to stop
the criminal.
A potential violent criminal.
Yeah.
So we roll up on him, lights and sirens. We jump out.
Jaywalking.
And because we got info that he just robbed somebody at gunpoint, I jump out and I have my gun drawn.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me see your effing hands. And he puts his hands up and he's like, what did I do? And I was like, you jaywalked. I felt like a jackass, dude.
Damn.
But I told him straight up, I wasn't going to be like, oh, you just robbed somebody.
Yeah.
No, I was like, you jaywalked.
So you didn't want to jump to that conclusion because in all reality, you weren't 100%.
I wasn't 100% sure it was our suspect,
Yeah.
but I was not 100% sure it wasn't our
Exactly,
suspect.
exactly.
And if it wasn't our suspect, I'm not going to try and get out,
Hey,
gun
what's up,
holstered,
buddy? Hands
how's it
out.
going? And he's like, oh, they know I just robbed somebody, and he pulls his gun out.
So that's another question, right? So with that scenario, potential suspect, potential violent suspect with,
Yes.
with a dangerous weapon. When you got out of the car, you said you grabbed your gun. Is that so we've talked about this before in private, right? Between you and I.
Mhm.
If you feel threatened, that's when the gun comes out. When does the taser come out?
So if he potentially has a gun,
And
I'm gonna
you know
lose,
that-
and I pull my taser, I'm gonna lose that fight.
Okay.
I'm gonna lose that
Okay.
fight
Okay.
because I'll tase him, and then that 5
So
seconds
you're
is
going
over,
off of- you're
and then
going-
he's gonna shoot and kill me.
Because this is all gonna come full circle when we come
Yeah.
back to Ben.
So
right?
so taser, pepper ball, pepper spray, those are all less lethal.
yeah, they're non-lethal.
Non-lethal tools.
Okay.
Okay.
But if you think he has a gun, then you have to pull your gun.
Because we need to show a level of force above their level of force in order to maintain control of the situation
Okay.
and to keep it as safe as possible.
Okay.
So
I understand.
Yeah, because if I get out again, taser or pepper spray, and let's say the
Or even a baton.
taser doesn't deploy properly, and he doesn't get, and it doesn't work on him.
Yeah.
Gun out, and now I have to, worry about holstering my
Try to
taser and then pulling my gun, all the while he's shooting at me. You know what I mean? So to finish the story,
Yeah.
I draw my gun. He's like, "What did I do?" I said, "You effing jaywalked," and I felt like a jackass. But I wasn't gonna lie to him and be like, "You just robbed somebody."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was me in the moment, owning that. Okay, this is why I really stopped you. So after he had his hands up, he passed his backpack to my partner, and we were able to search him real quick. I holstered. We had a conversation. It wasn't our suspect. It was another black guy
With a
wearing a red hat and a pink backpack in the vicinity. What are the chances, right?
Damn.
But someone could accuse us of, oh, you're just profiling. You know what I mean? But
They
it's
could have, and he could have. He could have said, "Man, you
could've.
stopped me because I'm black." You know what I mean? Or he could have stopped me because I'm
Yes.
too dark after dark.
with a red hat and a pink backpack.
But with the information, like I said, a lot of the community doesn't understand that. And when I say community, I mean family members of people who have been, arrested or been fucked with by the cops. Excuse my language. Messed with by the cops. And they think it's profiling. They don't understand and they don't know about the information that you guys receive prior to those stops, which is why I wanted to get into this.
Sure.
Specifically for,
Sure.
So that is a good example of you got information and just happened chance.
It was literally like 2 or 3 minutes after we got the call that we saw him.
That's crazy.
We were hyped.
That is
We're like, we
crazy.
just found the suspect. Anyways, so this story gets even crazier.
Let's go.
Okay.
I'm in.
So he gives me his ID. He's within a year age difference of our suspect. And if you hold the IDs next to each other, they look almost like twin brothers. Almost like twin brothers. I even showed him, I was like, this is the guy who we're looking for. He's like, damn.
That's not me. That is not me.
Yeah, I promise that's not me. You know what I mean? I mean, he had a couple traffic warrants, $250, $300.
Not enough to take him in or something.
No. So I told him, I was like, look, we're not even going to jam you up on those. Get those taken care of. Walk home safely. Just make sure you use the crosswalk next time you walk
And
home.
go home, right? Because there's other police officers looking.
It's like
for
1 or
this.
2 in the morning. You know what I mean? I was like, dude, just go home, man. You know what I mean? Like,
because it's not just you and your
But I
partner.
did apologize to him, and I appreciated him understanding. He did. He understood the situation.
Yeah.
The guy looked just like him, and he was wearing the description. You know what I mean? If also on the other side of that, am I just supposed to let him go because I'm like, I don't know 100% if that's him or not? You know what I mean? Are we going to let a suspect that is going to rob people at gunpoint go, or a potential suspect because I'm not 100% sure? No, I rather err on the side of caution and make sure it's not him than just let him go until I'm 100% sure. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, I do. I get it.
So for law enforcement, it's a really tough situation to be in, because there's these violent acts that take place. We're getting these calls. It's our responsibility to serve the community and protect the community.
Yeah.
And as we look for these potential suspects with the, a lot of times very limited descriptions that we get,
Yeah.
a lot of times we pull over the wrong people. You know what I mean?
And that happens.
Because it's limited description.
Now,
Unless these people are frequent flyers and we're like, oh, it's Marcus again.
yeah.
Then there's no excuse.
Because I was going to ask that. Like, I've been pulled over a lot.
Sure.
A lot. To where they call my name out before they even get me out of the car.
Melvin.
Yep. And I'm like, how the hell does this guy know? There's no way that they know that this is me.
Yeah.
But yet they call my name out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's it. You know what I mean? Somebody told on me. That's always how I've always felt. Whether that's real or not, because I've always pled to what I was guilty of.
That might be the case.
I've never had to go to trial on,
Sure.
stuff I knew I was
Because
guilty of.
even back then you were taking accountability.
Exactly. It was like, dude, you caught me. All right. Put
Which
me
is
in
the
for a few
mindset
years.
of most guys that have been in and
Yeah.
out of the system. They're like, all right, you got me this time.
Yeah, you got me this time. We'll see if I can figure
Sure.
out a way to get away next time. Right?
Yeah.
No, the reason I ask and the reason I brought all of this up is because of the situation that happened last year.
Mhm.
So I went with his wife, his widow now,
Yeah.
and I watched those body cam footage, and he didn't have a weapon,
Yeah.
but he was a violent offender. I'm not trying to be biased on either way,
Sure.
because I love that dude to death, right? But I do also respect what you guys try to do.
It's his situation is it's hard for me to speak on it completely because I don't.
Well, you're still active law enforcement.
Well, that and but honestly, I don't know the entirety of the law enforcement side. When I did talk to some people, it was still under investigation, so
Yeah.
it was limited information that was able to be shared even with law enforcement, and I didn't press the issue. But those situations,
Because you could see both hands, like he's screaming at him. He's looking for something on the ground. There's nothing in his hands. He does have a big coat. It's middle of January.
Sure.
Right? And then you hear the taser pop. I didn't hear taser, taser, taser.
So that's the only thing I could kind of think of. If even a lot of times when you're in those situations, or when officers are in those situations,
It's the heat of the
you
moment.
get tunnel vision and auditory exclusion, where you only can see really what's right in front of you.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's going on around you.
because the danger is in front of you.
The danger's in front of you, and it's you can train to limit those natural physiological side effects of being in those life or death
Critical thinking
situations.
skills.
And because when your heart starts to race, a lot of your fine motor skills start to shut down, and so you have to train and train and train and train to be able to think and function at a high level in those situations.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say, and I can't speak to this officer. I'm just, for example,
I get it.
let's just say this officer is experiencing tunnel vision, and this guy yells out taser, taser, taser. But because he has tunnel vision, he's experiencing tunnel vision and auditory exclusion. He just hears the pop,
Yeah.
and that pop can sound very similar
Because you hear
to a firearm.
the pop, and then literally a split second later, behind the guy, you hear pop, pop, 2 gunshots.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when he fell, well, kind of stumbled and then barrel rolled into the residence. Right?
Sure.
And then that's where it all went to crap after that.
Yeah, so it's really hard to I mean, we're both looking at it from an outsider's point of view, and we don't know or our friend
Yeah.
what he was doing that night, what he was
Yeah, I mean, and it
experiencing,
was
and then
a-
we don't know
It was an event.
Yeah.
I mean, it started in one area of Salt Lake
And ended
it
up
ended up
at a house.
way
and,
north
Yeah.
and west of where it originally
Yeah.
started. Right.
and so we also don't know the law enforcement side of it.
Exactly.
We don't know during that pursuit, if he did look like he was trying to do something, or if he did have a gun at one point and then maybe he ditched it. Because there's a lot of moving.
We're still
parts
waiting
of
on
this.
paperwork.
Yeah,
I mean, we're still waiting on the grammar request from things.
Sure.
Just to find out if it was justified.
There's just a lot of moving parts. It's hard. I know a lot of people are quick to,
but
or
they
can
quick
be
to
quick.
blame the police.
Sure.
Quick to blame, especially
and
when
then on our side of the fence, they're quick to blame. Well, it's just a criminal. You know what I mean? Like he's doing the same thing he always does.
I've heard that too. It's like, man, he wouldn't have got. And I've heard this from my own people, from one of my own kids.
Sure.
It's like, well, if he wasn't doing that, then that wouldn't have happened. If he wasn't being out there being a criminal or committing crime, then he never would have got shot. Well, that's true. But he was out there, doing whatever he was doing. But I don't feel like it justifies being shot to death. Now, we'll pause on that one for a minute.
Sure.
A well-known case that involved the courthouse shooting, federal courthouse shooting. You remember that?
Yep.
Now, I've spoken to somebody since the last time you and I have talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
This person's not in law enforcement. This person's just a clerk-ish person, right? And everybody who we know knows the footage. He rushed the stand while a witness, a high-level informant, was giving testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Where he rushed the stand with a pencil, and was shot. What, 8 times? 8 times.
Yeah.
By the marshal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was no taser. There was no, hands, fisticuffs involved. He had a pen or a pencil, something like that. He had a small object when he rushed the stand. Now, after I've gotten further information, I don't think it's still justified to shoot him that many times. But if their job is to protect that witness, who is pretty much the entire case against
for the RICO case.
RICO case. Then it kind of makes sense, but 8 times, that's a little excessive, right?
I've never seen the footage. The only reason, so we're not taught to shoot to kill. We're taught shoot to stop.
Demobilize.
So if he was still
moving,
charging at the witness stand, then he's going to continue to shoot.
So I'll give you a brief diagram, verbal, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got up, he grabbed a pen off of the prosecutor's desk,
mm-hmm.
ran towards the stand, jumped, which is a high jump. First off, it's not a short distance.
Sure.
Jumped, leapt, and swung but he got over the top of the witness box, right? But he swung, he missed because the defendant backed out of the way as best as he could.
Because he's in that
he's cuffed up too,
box,
right? And he's cuffed up, but he swung, he missed, and he fell on the ground. And then you hear doom, 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 right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what just happened? Still a lot of unanswered questions with that one. Although it had been deemed since then justifiable by our attorney general. But to me, it's like, man,
well, and even
is it because
our attorney general doesn't really have jurisdiction over that, or the Salt Lake County DA? They'll take a look at it and they can give their opinion on it. But because it was a federal courthouse,
and it was the first case,
and he's in federal jurisdiction, it's federal laws that apply to that situation. And I'm not super familiar with all the federal laws, but obviously it was deemed justified by them.
Yeah.
They have a different set of rules a little bit, but you're exactly right. This was their key witness in their RICO case. And
it was that lady's, we found out, it was that lady's very first job. Like, she's never secured a witness.
Sure.
This was her very first time securing that particular individual.
Well, and so for when I worked for corrections, let's say when you were down there, if I had you cuffed up At that point, once you're cuffed up, especially leg shackles and cuffed behind your back or even waist chain, you are my primary responsibility. Anything that happens to you is I'm liable for that.
Yeah.
So even if you trip and fall and hurt your knee, that's my fault.
Yeah.
That's my fault. So anything and everything that could happen to you, I have to make sure I do my best that it doesn't happen to you. Nice. So if he even got a swing in, which potentially they could look at it as attempted murder.
Yeah.
Or attempted aggravated assault.
Yeah.
He already just displayed
aggression
in a courtroom, in a federal courtroom, no less, that he's willing to stab somebody with a pen
in front of.
So at that point, it's like, well, what else is he willing to do? Or is there anything that's going to stop him? Is he going to come to his senses, or is he going to get back up and attempt to stab our key witness again?
Yeah. And that's just been, with a lot of my friends, family members, because that was a family member.
Sure.
Right. It's just like, man, why was her first reaction shoot to kill?
Yeah.
Why was it 8 shots? And I know you can't answer that because you're not her.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But I know you can answer
just from, like I said, from my point of view, a pen can be used to kill somebody.
They could, yeah, absolutely. I know. I've watched people get stabbed with pens.
With less.
Yeah.
A toothbrush, you know what I'm saying? I know the premise before is like, he just had a pencil. He just had a pen. Like, why are you going to kill him like that? It's like, well, if you gave him the opportunity, he was going to stab him to death. You know what I mean? It might not have been immediate, but I mean, if you just get the right, stab in somewhere here on the neck, he's going to bleed out in seconds.
Yeah, he's going to die.
You know what I mean? He's not going to sit there and try and shank him in right here. He's going to go for the neck.
Yeah, he ain't going for the arm.
And he's not going to do something like that in court just to send a message. Like, he's trying to shut him up from snitching on the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, after I talked to one of somebody else.
Yeah.
They was like, dude, you got to understand, that's a horrible outcome. But
yes. And I feel for the family. Yeah. I feel horrible for the family. You know what I mean? Because that's
any life taken is a huge loss.
Regardless of if whether or not it's these individuals' choices and their lifestyle that led them to this point, the family is the one that has to burden the grief and the sorrow and the heartbreak and the loss for the rest of their lives. Exactly. And it's not going to be easy at all. No. And so it's hard to be like, well, he deserved it. It's hard to say that. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
It's hard to say that. And like I said, and like we both mentioned, like we weren't there. I don't know what he did afterwards. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know kind of like the gist of the situation.
I mean, I was locked up at the time.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, they locked down. They locked down all of, I was at work. I worked in the kitchen. I was the head cook.
Yeah.
The head line cook. And they literally came up and was like, hey, Marcus, you need to go back to the section. I'm like, what? For what? It was like, you need to go back. And 3 cops escorted me down.
Yeah.
I got to the section. I was like, what's going on? And they was like, oh, this just happened. All of the Polynesians are being locked down right now because we don't know what's going on. Sure. And I'm like, well, how does that make, if this just happened? They was like, we don't know what kind of information you have. We don't know what kind of information you've received prior to today. Yeah. We don't know what's going on. This could be an attack on, police officers, on COs. We don't know what
kind of retribution or revenge or.
And I'm like, okay, how long am I locked down? It was like, until further notice. Like, I didn't get to come out for rec. I stayed locked down. I think we were locked down for 8 days.
Yeah.
Before they decided to let me go back to work with full apologies. Like, you know what I mean? So there was a lot of repercussions in the prison anyway. You know what I mean? Not towards police officers.
And
I don't know if anybody has.
That's the way corrections errs on the side of caution.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember when that Sereno dude got stomped out by that Juggalo dude?
Yep.
In Max?
Yep.
what was the caution that the prison took.
Oh, dude, they separated. They locked them all down.
We shipped everyone down to Gunnison.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? We
was a
separated
caravan.
all the juggalos from being anywhere near the
Any
Serenios, and we shipped them down to the central prison. And so it's just kind of like the law enforcement's way in general to err on the side of caution. Like, hey, let's try and stop anything from happening further. I know there's going to be feelings involved. I know there's going to be family involved, but let's do this because we can lock them down and then kind of assess the situation from there.
Yeah.
Make apologies if needed, whatever explanation we can give, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
But if we kind of keep business rolling as usual and we know this just happened and then something else happens, it's like, well, why didn't you guys prepare for a potential, falling out or something?
Or a riot.
Sure. Yes.
I think that was I think that's one of the responses I got from one of the COs that I was cool with down in Gunnison was, we were just making sure there wasn't a riot going to pop off because it was a police involved homicide. Well,
sure.
A police involved shooting.
Yes.
With a high profile
Polynesian. Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I get you.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks for talking to me about that one on this episode.
Anytime, I love the questions. You ask really, really great questions that I'm sure a lot of people are wondering.
Yeah.
They might not ask it as politely as you.
They may not like the answers, but you know what? These are the answers. And these are the questions and the way that we're going to conduct ourselves in this podcast. I may not have a lot of energy right now, but I have been drinking my Red Bull. No.
We're not sponsored by Red Bull yet.
Sponsored. I just like it. You know what I mean? I drink it. I cut from the sugar one to the non-sugar.
Dude, that one's sour.
It sucks.
Yeah.
I hate it a lot, but I don't like being fat. So we'll get there.
I love you.
I love you too.
No, and this is the type of conversations we're trying to have. So both sides can understand the other side even better.
Exactly. There was a lot of things, and there was a lot of information that I didn't even understand prior to this conversation with you. Mm-hmm. You and I have been friends for well over 15 years.
Yeah.
So thank you for, clearing that air, giving me those answers. Sure. Now, once again, Dane is a police officer. I am an ex-convict. But that doesn't mean that I hate every police officer and he hates every ex-convict.
I for sure don't hate ex-convicts or current convicts.
There are some people that are assholes in every walk of life.
There's people out there that haven't committed any crime
that I can't stand.
Who I can't stand.
I almost just beat a guy up at work this week, and I will tell you about that in length too in the future if you want to know.
So it doesn't matter what your background is, who you are, where you come from. It's how you
choose to hold yourself
right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You can only
being a genuine person, being honest, doing, not being afraid to do what's right. And that's who you are.
Yeah.
And I know both of us have kind of lost connection with friends and
family.
Which
is fine. If they're not with us on this, if they're not with us now, then they weren't meant to be with us.
And one of the things that I hate, and I'm gonna say this, like
hate's a strong word.
Hate, and I will say it again. I hate when people do this. If you run into somebody that you haven't seen in a while, and they're like, "Oh, you changed. Oh, you changed." It's like, what do you expect? Like that's what this whole life is about, is getting better, improving, progressing, growing. Of course I'm going to be changed. Of course I'm changed. Yeah. Of course. Hopefully I'm not changed for the worse.
Nigga, you different.
But it's just like, of course I've changed. I'm trying to continue, and you too.
Yeah.
We're both trying to continue on a daily basis, if possible, to get better, to improve, to progress, not only for ourselves, but for our spouses, our families. And if people hate on that, I don't understand why. I can't stand that.
Wait, what does Cat Williams say? He's like, that's their effing job, man. Haters are gonna hate. Let them hate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you wake up today and you got 10 haters, you got to figure out how to get 20 more by the end of the week. So,
well, yeah.
Feel free to hate on me.
No, I hate on those people. So,
but let's go.
Stand those people, man.
Let's.
You need to change. You need to grow. Tune into our show and grow.
Mash that subscribe button. Mash that like button if you like this content. If you don't, even if you don't want to keep listening, share it with your friends. You never know. You might know somebody who might want to listen to this.
Drop, if there's some different incidents or situations you want us to talk about and dissect, please leave it in the comment section.
And we will respond.
There's not any, that we're not afraid to cover any topic, subject, whatever.
We ain't afraid of you, man, the mother, just, you know what I mean? Just, I'm not going to swear.
No, and it's not that we're hardcore. It's more of like, we pride ourselves in being so honest that even if it doesn't put us in the best light, we're going to be honest.
But we're content where we are. And we're content with each other.
But not satisfied.
We're very happy with our lives. But we are always going to be striving to be better tomorrow than we are today.
And that's what we want for everybody,
So smash that subscribe and like button. And we love you guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you on the next one. That was good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
It was excellent questions, man.